six words that can be used in your day-to-day English speech. If you use these six words without errors, you can ensure that 70% of your mistakes will not repeat, because these are very commonly used words. These are finite verbs, these are helping verbs. I'm talking about do and have. They have three forms each, which we generally use or regularly use. So when you take the case of do, you use do, does, did. These are the three most popular forms we use in our day-to-day language. If you take the case of have, you use have, has, had. Of course, there are other forms like having, doing. We are not talking about that now. We are talking about these six words, namely have, has, had, do, does, did. If you know how to use these six words without errors, then it means that you can speak comfortably without making frequent errors, may it be an IELTS speaking test or in your day-to-day life when you're talking to your friends or talking to someone, or even in an interview when you talk. You're not going to make so many errors if you know how to use these six words. So let us take do first. We have three forms. As I have already told you, we have three forms: do, does, did. Now let's remember one thing here. Whenever we use any one of these three words, we use them, or we use any one of those three words considering the number and person of the subject. That means we just see whether the number is singular, plural, whether it is first person, second person, third person. We just check it like that. Then only we use do, does, or did according to the number and person of the subject. So let's consider what these subjects are. Anything we are talking about, any person we are talking about, any place we are talking about, these are all our subjects. If you're talking about that, that's our subject. That's it. So for example, if you talk about Cochin, I live in Cochin. So if you talk about Cochin, Cochin is your subject. If you talk about a cat, that cat is your subject. If you talk about a mountain, that mountain is your subject. So you can see that your subject can be a noun or a pronoun. Whatever I have told you now, they are all nouns. Sometimes we use pronouns instead of them. So we sometimes say it, he, she, they, I, we, you, etc. These are all pronouns. If your subject is pronoun, for example, sometimes we say I like tennis, I play tennis, or we live in Cochin, he rides bicycles. Like this we say I, we, he, she, it, etc. When we start the sentence with that kind of a word, a pronoun, that pronoun is our subject. Sometimes we don't use that. Instead, we use a particular person's name, a place name, a thing's name, anything. Then that's a noun. So your subject can be a noun or a pronoun. If it is a noun, it's very simple. You just need to see whether it is singular or plural. Now let's come back to our three words. Which are they? Do, does, did. We are talking about the usage of these three words. And in that process, I have told you there can be subjects. You have to look at the subject's number and person before you decide whether you use do or does or did. That's why I told you there can be different kinds of subjects. That means it can be a noun, can be a pronoun. If it is a noun, it can be singular or plural. If it is a pronoun, it can be singular or plural. Similarly, it can be first person, second person, or third person. What's that? That also should be understood. So let me tell you the first person, I, singular. That is the first person. Very simple logic. Whenever a person is talking about anything, that I is the first thing. So it's singular. I, first person, singular. If you say we, I is singular. We, plural, you know that is first person, plural. Then you are the second person. So that is singular you or plural you. May it be singular, may it be plural, it is the same word. So you, the word you is second person. you. He, she, it, these are third person singulars. They are all third person. So first, second, others are all third. So third person singulars are he, she, it. Plural is they, of course. This is what we call person. First person singular, I, plural, we. Second person singular as well as plural, it's you. Third person singular, he, she, it, plural, they. So you have to see whether the subject is singular or plural, or first person or second person or third person when you decide whether you should use do or does or did. Now we understand a few things. Let us recollect what we have already learned. We have learned that the subject can be a pronoun or a noun. We have already learned that subject can be okay, one second. Jarin is here. Yeah, he is. We have already seen that the subject can be singular or pronoun, singular or plural, sorry. It can be a noun or a pronoun. We have seen there are different subjects. Anything you're talking about, it's our subject. It may be a noun, may be a pronoun, may be singular, may be plural. Depending on that, we decide whether we should use do or does or did. Now let us come back to these three words, do, does or did. First we take did. Did is the past form of the verb, and that can be used with any subject, no problem. Sorry. So that's not at all a problem. You can use did with any subject. So you don't need to see whether the subject is singular, plural, I or you or we or he or she or anything. Whatever your subject is, you can use did with that. The only problem is that it should be followed by V1. Okay? Yeah. Some people are sending me messages, so I just replying them. Okay. So, sorry, as we have already seen, you can use did with any subject. So the number and person do not matter there. Now what is left with us? Do or does. So in learning how to use do or does, first you have to take one subject, that is I, the first person singular. That's an exception. Okay. Let's say take that subject and let's learn that subject. There are crores and crores of subjects left out. We are not talking about any of those subjects. Okay. But we are now taking just one subject, I. And just we learn that, just we remember that we have to use do with that. That's it. I do. I do not believe. I do not see. I do not read. I do not jump. I do not feel. These are all okay. You see, as I've told you earlier, do, does, did should be followed by the first form of the verb. You cannot say, I do not felt. That's wrong because felt is V2. I do not saw. It's wrong because saw is V2. I do not seeing is wrong because seeing is ing form. You cannot use that. So do or does should be followed, or even did should be followed by V1 only. That also should be remembered. So here we are talking about do, and we are talking about the subject I. We have taken only one subject so far. That means I. And we just fix it. We always use do with I. Then there are crores and crores of subjects left out there. You see, we have taken only I. There are crores and crores of subjects. We can talk about anything in the universe. They're all our subjects. So, all these subjects, you just need to divide them into singular or plural. That's it. If it is singular, use does with that. If it is plural, use do with that. But you have to remember, I, the subject I, is singular, but we don't use does with that. That's why we have taken it first and left it aside. I is a different thing. So there you should not see number. Okay, I do, that is fixed. Other than I, there are thousands, crores and crores of subjects. These subjects we just straight divide into two parts or two categories. We just see whether they are single. We don't mind whether they are first person, second person, third person, or anything like that. Of course, we have to see, but as we have taken this, I am just telling you a shortcut. We have kept aside the subject I, and then remaining subjects. Just see whether they are singular, use does, plural, use do. Your problem is solved. So if you say he does not know, he does not play, singular. Tom, singular. So Tom does not play. Sometimes we say something like this, I don't know, you don't know, we don't know. Then in that rhythm, we just say sometimes, he don't know. No. He don't know is not correct. You have to say, he doesn't know. Because that's singular. He is singular. He is your subject. That's the case. First you take I, you fix it, I do, I do not, I do, I do not. That's it. It is never I does not. You can never say I does. It is wrong. Then the remaining subjects all together, just take them all and then just divide into two singulars, plurals. If the subject is a singular subject, you say does. If it is a plural subject, you say do. That is finished. In a similar way, we can learn have also. You have three forms. Well, I did not tell you about did. Did can be used in any case. Yeah, I have already told you. You can use did with any subject. It may be singular, plural, first person, second person, it doesn't matter. You can use it with any subject. The only thing is that it should be followed by V1, that's all. So, like that. Have, has, had also can be learned in a similar manner. So you can see have or has. Have is just like do. Has is just like does, because have is V1, has is S form. Had is just like did. Just comparing, that's all. So as you can use did with any subject, you can use had also with any subject. Had is also like did. You can use with any subject. It doesn't matter whether it is singular, plural, first person, second person, third person, anything it is. You can use with them. So you can say I had gone, the train had left, somebody had done something. You can, whatever may be the subject, no matter, no problem. But have or has, the same rule applies. Just take I and fix it, have. So we always say I have. We never say I has. First you take I. That is the trick. You take I, then fix it. Earlier we fixed it, I do. Like that, here we fix it, I have. Then there are crores and crores of subjects left. All those subjects, as we have done earlier, take them all and just divide them into two, singular or plural. If it is singular, you say has. If it is plural, you say have. Your problem is solved. Very simple. So the method is to take the subject I first. You say I do, I have. I do like this, I do play tennis, or I don't play tennis. Generally we use it in negative constructions. So I do not like mangoes. Maybe most of the people like mangoes, but if I say I do not like mangoes, that's my choice. I do not like mangoes, I can say, but I cannot say I does not like mangoes. So just let us take some examples. I do not play tennis. We do not play tennis. You do not play tennis. They do not play tennis. The boys do not play tennis. These are all correct. But when you say he or she or it or Tom or Peter, you have to say Tom doesn't play tennis. Peter doesn't play tennis. She doesn't play tennis. Or Sanya doesn't play tennis. Sanya, of course, does. But we are just making some sentences, examples. In the same way, you can use have or has. I have. I have taken my breakfast just now. He has taken his breakfast. You shouldn't say he have taken his breakfast. You should say he has taken his breakfast. She has taken her breakfast. So he, she, it, or any singular subject except I. That's why you have taken I first and kept it aside. That's an exception. If that exception is in your mind, for the rest of the subjects, you just need to see whether it is singular or plural. Your issue is very simple. And here one more thing I would like to tell you. You have to use V3 only after have or has. After have or has, you have to use V3 only. V3 means the third form of the verb. The past participle form of the verb. So you cannot say I have eat my breakfast. No, eat is V1. You cannot say I have ate my breakfast, because ate is V2. You cannot use it with have or has or had. You have to say I have eaten my breakfast. I've seen a movie which was really wonderful. Okay. He has created a new YouTube channel. That's okay. But you cannot say he is creating a new YouTube channel, because creating is an ing form and you cannot use it directly after, immediately after have or has or had. This is the way we use these 6 words: do, does, did, have, has, and had. If you know how to use these words without making errors, you really have an upper hand, and you don't need to worry about so many errors in your speech or in your writing. Whenever you use the language, you can use a much better language. So keep learning. Do, does, did, have, has, had. Thank you for your time. See you again soon.